As a father, as a parent, man, we have the most influence over our kids. Parents had more influence than a coach, more influence than a teacher, more influence than friends, because they're always there. Yeah. When you stop and you think about it, a coach can only be your coach for maybe 4 years. Your teacher's only going to be your teacher for a year. Friends, especially with teenagers, you got a friend 1 week, and then y'all not friends for 2 years, and then y'all friends again when your graduation come around. So all these inconsistent relationships that are in our lives that are still good, that can still be beneficial to our lives, have nothing compared to how much we as parents have influence over our kids. So as parents, how much influence do we really have over our kids? Our kids are constantly learning things from their friends, their teachers, their coaches, and so many other different voices. And how does our influence as parents stack up against the other influences in our children's lives? In this episode of the Men to Men podcast, we're going to be having a conversation with my pastor as we discuss the important role that we as Christian parents play in our children's lives. Hey, if this is our first time meeting, my name is James Howard Jr., and I'd like to thank you for checking out this episode of the Men to Men podcast. The Men to Men podcast exists to help men honor God in every single part of their lives. And one of the main ways we do that on this channel is through our video podcast. We also have a bunch of devotional type videos that are specifically for men and helping them grow in their relationship with God. So if you're interested in anything like that, I want you to consider subscribing. So what kind of influence do we have over our kids? Well, let's find out in this conversation with my pastor, Pastor Dwayne Higginson. And so let me ask you this question. What does it mean to be a God-honoring father?
Wow. So what does it mean? I think.
Or what does it mean to you?
Right. Well, I think it means being the picture of God to my children. I mean, God is our Father, right? That's the metaphor that He chose throughout the Scripture to say, you want to know what I'm like? I'm like the ideal father in your life that loves, that's strong, that protects, that provides all those things, right? So fatherhood, there's a heavy responsibility because our children's image of God is going to come out of their image of us, right? Especially those early images. Whew. Man, it's a lot of responsibility.
Man. So my baby girl turned 4 in May. One thing that I realized, man, she picks up on every single thing. Even when she's like playing with the tablet or something like that, me and her mom will say something and she'll repeat it. Or she'll hear something on like a commercial, like something, they say something, she just repeats it. So she picks up on everything, man. And I was just thinking, man, I just had this real deep thought, like, man, like she is really picking up on everything that I do. I have to watch what I say. I have to watch how I live. And then, my mind, as a father, I'm sure you thought this, your mind just went to all these different places. It's like, well, I got this that I do, I need to make sure I change this habit, and then yada yada yada, so she won't pick up on that and all that kind of stuff. She won't get my bad habits. And so it's crazy to think that as a father that we have that much impact over our kids. But I mean, that's the way God designed it.
Yeah, so it is. But I want to say, it's not as complicated as it seems. Sometimes we get real mystical in our whole,
yeah.
What does it mean? Well,
that's me all day.
So
new dad. Sorry.
So what's the best gift I can give my children? Old minister told me this years ago, man. I grabbed so much from my developmental years, man. Men that spoke into my life. I didn't have a dad in my home, so I had men in the church that I would choose to follow, and I would see these dudes. Like I remember there was a guy. He was a highway patrolman, right? And he didn't have a neck, and he talked like this, He was deacon in church. A good man. He was my best friend's dad. But I mean, he was just this animal, and then he'd walk in the house, and we were starting to feel our oats. Young boys about 15, we'd be doing whatever we want to do. That man walking around, and he'd say, "Boys, I want y'all to go do this." Yes, sir. We go right. Yeah. So I saw that dude, and I said, "I want to be strong and gutsy like that." Yeah. But then there's another guy that was in the church who was just the funniest guy you ever met. And he was always playing and acting a fool, and jumping around with kids. And I remember thinking, that's one of the happiest guys I know. I want to be happy like that. Yeah. And so all these different men that I experienced in the church, I would say, even as a kid, I would say, I want to be that. I want that part of that dude to be a part of me. I want that part of that dude to be a part of me. So even if you don't have a dad in your home, or if you didn't have a good dad, you can still learn from good men, right? And I'm always spending time with guys that are older than me. Even now, I'm in my 50s. I hang out with guys in their 70s sometimes, and I just watch how they treat their wives, and I watch how they respond as they're in retirement. What are they doing? Because I know I'm going there, right?
Yeah.
And so one of these dudes said to me, he said, man, the best thing you can do for your children is to love their mother. And I thought, holy cow, what a great statement. And so much of being a father can be taken care of if I love their mother and I'm a good husband to their mother and I'm a model of servanthood and all that. A lot of those things about fatherhood begin to happen naturally. And so I think one of the things that we have to do is to demystify it, take it off this pedestal, here, singing in the background when we talk about being a godly father. No. It just means doing the stuff, man.
Yeah.
Every day, do the stuff.
Yeah. Man, that helps me. Like I said, my baby girl's 4, and like you just said, man, I get caught in that. I'm such a kind of touchy-feely kind of guy when it comes to deep theological meanings to every single thing, man. And so for me, that helps me to just be like, dude, calm down. Like, calm down. Do the right thing. Do what you're supposed to do. And that's it. Just keep going. And just keep doing the right thing, man. You talked about having, picking from different people and having different people in your lives and having those influences. One thing that I did want to say to the fathers out there that I've learned working with teenagers, talking with parents and stuff like that, man, is that as a father, as a parent, man, we have the most influence over our kids. And this is like research based. I think it was the Fuller Youth Institute. One of the books that I've read over the years. They did all this research on specific, parenting. I think it's like the Think Orange company and stuff like that. And they found out that parents had more influence than a coach, more influence than a teacher, more influence than friends, because they are always there. Yeah. When you stop and you think about it, a coach can only be your coach for maybe 4 years. Yeah. If you're a good athlete, you're going to high school and stuff like that, your teacher's only going to be your teacher for a year, unless they, move up with you every single grade, which, I'm sure happens before, but they're not always there. Friends, especially with teenagers, you got a friend 1 week, and then y'all not friends for 2 years, and then y'all friends again when your graduation come around. So all these inconsistent relationships that are in our lives that are still good, that can still be beneficial to our lives, have nothing compared to how much we as parents have influence over our kids. Now, I say that not to scare you or not to even scare myself, but to let us all know, like, hey, like, we got this. Like, we can shape our kids. Yeah, the world's crazy. Yeah, all these different ideas and all these different theologies that are out there, all these different attitudes and personalities, all these kind of things that are pulling at your kids' attention, they can't even compare. If you're an active parent in your kid's life, man, you just continue to pour into them, especially when you're a godly parent. I think that. What do you think about that?
So here's how I picture that, right? So investing in a kid, I always think of when I, as a pastor, am helping a kid, I'm dropping nickels in the bank. Yeah. When I'm saying positive things, doing encouraging and whatever I'm doing, I'm dropping nickels in the bank. And every time their father does the same thing, they're dropping dollar coins in the bank, right? And so that's how we have to realize it, that the father, the other people can have good influence in our lives, but the father and mother, when they drop something, it's always more valuable and carries more weight than what anybody else drops in their bank. Yeah. That's what you're saying. Yeah. And so that's how I always saw it with my kids is, man, whatever I do, I'm dropping dollars. Now, the thing is, I can't put a crazy amount of pressure on myself to be perfect, right?
Right.
Because what my kids need is not a persona, a projected image. What my kids need is a real person who lives real life. And so what I had to learn to do with my kids was just, first of all, listen to my wife. Like when I would do discipline or something, we'd have a situation in the house, we'd deal with it. Then we'd always go in the back because my wife had a great dad, right? And I made him my dad. When I married her, I said, hey, you're going to be my dad. He said, you're going to be my son, right?
That works.
So, I talked to him a lot. But I would ask my wife, I'd say, how'd that go? Was I too harsh? Was I too easy? Well, and she'd give me feedback. And because I trust my wife and because I choose to trust my wife and not be all defensive and say, oh, no, wait a minute now, I learned a lot about being a dad just by getting that feedback and becoming something. And then when I messed up, I'd go back and apologize to my kids. How crazy is that?
Yeah,
but I'd say, man, Dad messed up. I'm so sorry. I yelled when I shouldn't have yelled, or I was too harsh on you, or I didn't understand what I was saying. That, I think, takes our kids more down the road than trying to be perfect in front of them, right? Because they ain't gonna be perfect.
Right. So last question: if you could talk to every young father out there, if there was one bit of advice that you knew that they would apply to their lives, what is something you would tell young fathers out there?
I would say the best gift you can give your children, I've already said love their mother. The second thing is be interested in your children for real. Like whatever's important to them becomes important to me. And I remember one time my daughter got into show choir. She played softball. She did a lot of things. She swam. She did all kind of stuff, right? Now I was kind of an athletically minded dude. I wasn't a great athlete, but that was my mindset, right? But
that was your aspiration.
Right. So she gets into show choir, right?
Yeah.
And I remember going to see her show choir. I ain't throwing no shade now. I'm just saying it wasn't my thing, right? Yeah. And so I'd go to her show choir and I would watch her perform. And then I would go outside and do other things while her and her mom was watching all the different schools, and they had and they were keeping up with everybody. I couldn't do it. I mean, I couldn't literally physically do it.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy.
Yeah.
But when she was performing, I was there.
Yeah.
And she said to me, when she was younger, she talked a little slower, she just was real sweet. And she said, Daddy, you don't really like show choir, do you? You're not really interested in show choir at all, are you? And I said, baby, I'm interested in you.
Wow.
And so I'm interested in what you're interested in. Yeah. So every time you perform, if I can be there, I'm going to be there. Yeah. And so I think that really is one of the best pieces of advice I can give, is be genuinely 100% interested in your children. Because if you're present and really present, then all of a sudden, a lot of the things that a father should do, is going to take care of itself.
Ooh, that's good stuff, man. Again, I'd like to thank you for checking out this episode of the Men to Men podcast. If you're interested in growing in your relationship with God and honoring God in every single part of your life, this is the channel for you. So I want you to consider subscribing. And also, if you would like to hear this on a podcast form, we do have this available on Spotify and Apple as well. If you would like to hear my other episode with my pastor, Pastor Dwayne Higginson, you can check out this video right here. And if you're interested in simply just growing in your relationship with God and just need more content to look at, I want you to check out this video right here. All right, we'll see you over there. Peace.